Hello everybody, my name is NecroVMX, welcome to my channel, and you're listening to POTATOCAST. So last week I did a very emotional, heartfelt plea for you guys to donate to Hitomi's campaign, and I already explained the reasons why on that, and why it was so definitely needed. And I gotta say that right now I'm feeling kind of a mixed emotions. I know she's happy, or at least happier than what she was. I've been talking to Hitomi almost every day, and there were donations, and actually I have the thing in front of me right now. Let's see, since POTATOCAST, there's an $80 donation, a $20 donation, another $20 donation, a $30 donation. That was from a friend of mine that I asked to help out, a $10 donation, and a $125 donation. That's the same person, that's the Brian guy, and he left the $80 donation as well. He left a note, which I'm actually going to read, and I'm going to get to your questions and comments, but I want to get this out of the way. But let me finish up. There's a $20 donation, a $10 donation, and another $135 donation. So here's the thing, like I'm so happy that the plan worked and that POTATOCAST got donations for Hitomi, and that she's not going to be, going down a what I think at least is a very dark path. It's difficult to come back from once you go down it. But on the other hand, it's like Brian's doing everything, and this is what Brian, his comment was. He said, I'd like it to make it clear to all those who look at this that just because I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting doesn't mean I should be the only one doing any lifting. Every donation helps, no matter how small. John made his plea to all those who watched his latest POTATOCAST for a reason, and he couldn't be more right. And Hitomi told me that she liked that comment as well. He couldn't be more right, and you guys remember what I said. Like, if I was to go by the views, the episode from last week, which was Hitomi Needs Your Help Seriously, and it has 203 views. If those two, okay, let's say some of it was me checking on the comments or whatever. The one guy that came by to dislike it because he's a dick. But just think about this. I want you guys to really 200, and we'll call it an even 200 views. If everybody had donated a little bit, if everybody had donated $2, that would have been $400, and Brian wouldn't have to be doing all the heavy lifting. And I really was I was happy that people were donating and in good amounts. I just really wished more people did, but you can't argue with results too much. So I'm sort of elated that it worked, and that she's not going to be doing anything that I think is a a one-way street. And on the other hand, I'm kind of a little disappointed that there wasn't more activity on there. I mean, I understand, but I said, I said, even if you guys can't, donate, which I think anybody can donate $2, but whatever. I'm not mad at anybody. I just kind of thought that I'd see a lot more smaller donations. This Brian guy, I didn't really know the guy, but he's been the biggest, donator to this campaign. There were a few other people that I asked about it. But let me go through your questions and comments from that episode, which is obviously going to be a lot about Hitomi. So let's see. S. Serpent said, just donated. Hitomi, please be safe and don't do anything rash, and for what it's worth, I'd steer clear of that friend. And, well, I agree on that one. And, of course, Hitomi also personally responded to that. So I don't really need to go into that. But there you have it. Tara from Shadow Beast Gaming says, hopefully everything goes well. She seems to be near her goal. I just donated. Not much, but hopefully it will help some. I've been in that jobless/homeless situation, not anywhere near to her extent. But regardless, once you've been there, it's a real scarring and long-lasting hit on one's psyche, even after you get back on your feet. So hopefully, once the goal is reached, it's all positive from there. Also, Necro, you're a good friend for doing this. I have to give credit to the unsung hero. Yeah, I mean, normally I would just send her money, but I'm in a position where I really can't. And you guys, if you've been listening to PotatoCast, you know why. But so I figured this is the next best thing. Maybe even perhaps the better thing. And of course, Hitomi also responded to you. And I did want to say about the goal. I need you guys to kind of, and by the way, I'm bringing back all the regular links in the description that you would normally see, but I'm also keeping her GoFundMe link in the description for just to keep it handy if you want to donate again, or if you didn't get to donate last week and you want to donate this week, please do so. It is an ongoing thing. She's not in the apartment yet, and you kind of have to ignore the goal almost, or because the problem is, like, let me bring it up. Where is it? Okay, so right now she's at 2920 of a 3100 goal. The problem is that GoFundMe does take a small piece of each donation, and the larger the donation, the larger the percentage they take. Like she said, when Brian donated $125, I think she said she got less than $100 on that. I'm actually looking at our conversation now to see if I can find what she said exactly. We don't only talk about this stuff. So I'm scrolling a bit here, guys. Boy, oh boy. I can't find it. But I know that the bigger the donation, the more of a fee they take out, which makes sense. But just that, you kind of have to almost ignore the goal because it's always got to be a little past the goal. And she does try to gauge, where it needs to be. But, yeah, she just really needs to get into that apartment and out of the library, back room, and worried about, like, creepers coming after her and shit like that. We don't need this shit in our lives. Nobody does. Okay, moving on. The anime fan says, I wish I could help, but I can't donate because of reasons I can't specify, but I'll send the link around. I know some people who went through the same deal Hitomi, especially with the stupid step-parents doing something evil. I've heard some people once say in high school, if I can travel, I'd do for sex. So I know how bad that asshat is. If I can travel, I'd do for sex? I don't even understand what that means. But I'm sure it's not good. Well, thank you for the comment. I really don't have anything to add to that. But like I said, I hope you got it shared around and whatnot. Nenson Dubois says, #potato, congrats on landing a new job. Also, so sad we lost Cornell. What a tragedy for music. Do you like Soundgarden or his other contributions like Temple of the Dog? Also, hope all goes well for Hitomi. I didn't get to talk about this. Chris Cornell died. I was obviously a little upset, not like hugely upset because it's not like he was somebody that I personally knew, but I was a fan. I was a fan of his work in general, just his voice. I was a fan of Soundgarden. I was a fan of Temple of the Dog. I have that record somewhere. I was a fan of Audioslave, or at least the first two records. The third one was a little wonky, and also his solo work, too. Even when he did the crazy pop stuff with Timbaland, and it wasn't exactly my scene or my type of music, it was still his voice, Yeah, and I actually listened to some of his stuff earlier because I never really got to personally pay tribute to Chris Cornell's death because since he died a week ago, I've, everything in my head has been going towards this Hitomi situation. And I finally got to calm down a little bit about it today, and I listened to 4 songs. 2 of them were by Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun, obviously, and Fell on Black Days, which I think is appropriate. 1 by Audioslave, which was I Am the Highway, and then finally Temple of the Dog, which was Say Hello to Heaven. Great stuff. Obviously, he wrote that about Andrew Wood, who died of a heroin overdose in 1990. But, a lot of the lyrics apply to his own situation as well, and apparently that, whatever demons he had and whatever depression he was going through, he was insular. He kept it to himself, and he didn't show outward signs. And, I mean, even his wife didn't even really know that, that he was feeling alone and whatnot. And there's been a thing going on Facebook recently about depression, and I think it's been going making the rounds before Chris Cornell, but especially since Chris Cornell and his suicide, it's been back a lot. And it's basically saying, a lot of people, they say, oh, hey, I know depression is rough and blah, blah, blah. And if you need to talk, my door is open, coffee's warm, that kind of thing. You can always come to me. I'm your friend, blah, blah, blah. And the problem with that line of thinking is those people don't have the strength or the willpower or whatever, or they're so crippled by whatever demons they're battling, metaphorically speaking, of course, that they can't come to you and that you should go to them. And I get that, but then on the other hand, the problem with that thinking is, how do you know that somebody's depressed? Sometimes you don't know, and nobody knew that Chris Cornell was so depressed, just like a couple of years ago, nobody knew that Robin Williams was so depressed and that it should have been caught and that, he could have been helped. And it's always, hindsight is 20/20, I think. But, it's just one of those things. Like, even the man's own wife, and it was obvious that they were close, did not know that he was in an amount of pain that he would consider, leaving this world in such a way. So, that's my thoughts on that. I'm going to move on here. Puffnisse says, #Potato, thanks for talking about this and bringing knowledge about this. I will donate when I can and have spread it on people I know. Well, I did see your donation. Off topic from the sad stuff. If you will review Netflix stuff, you should check out Black Mirror and Gotham. Yeah, like I said, I just was gauging interest in that. I want to say that there is no plans. That was grammatically fucked. There are no plans currently to review Netflix stuff. It's just something that I thought about, and I wanted to see if people are interested. So I kind of got the answer. That sounds like, majority yes. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it, because it's time-consuming to do these sorts of things. But it is something that is an idea for the future. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm a little scared to try to do anything too time-consuming, because I'm not used to having the amount of time free that I do. So it's something that I got to adjust to. Lucas 2009, this is the last comment. He says, I helped spread the word last time, and this time I have nothing in the way of terms of financial concerns. So I'm going to donate some this time. I don't have the money this month, but promise that I'll have some donated at the start of next month. Her situation is terrible, and it hurts to hear that she is in this situation. Well, she does need the money more like now than next month, but the fact is that even if she gets into the apartment now, it's like she still doesn't yet have a job, or rather the job that she has doesn't start again until November. So she's trying to look for something temporary in the meantime. So really, whenever you can, that would be great. But yeah, I guess I really that's it. I didn't want to talk too much about Hitomi. I did want to give you guys an update, and actually I'm going to read you the update that she wrote for her own GoFundMe, and just to clear up some confusion as well, because some people were looking at it, because I mentioned that she's from Japan. The GoFundMe campaign says Long Beach, California, because she made the campaign. There were two campaigns. The original campaign was when she lost her job originally, and the second campaign, which is the one that is still ongoing, was from after her mother died. And she was in California, for her mother's funeral services when she made that. And even though she's back in Japan, she's told me that she can't change the location on the GoFundMe campaign. It's just not something that you can do. So let me read you guys our update. This is from yesterday. It says, quick update. Thank you, everyone, for the help and share so far, trying to get everything set up. And just wanted to say, even if the goal amounts show it's hit, any help after is greatly appreciated, especially with the fees they take out. I always generally end up a bit short. I can't thank you all enough. It looks like things will work out fine, though. Just have to push through till winter unless another job shows up prior to that. But my focus was the apartment, so that's what I'm taking care of. And also, she put an update on the main story. I'm just going to read you guys to this. This is about her mother and everything and the confusion. It says, hello everyone, just wanted to post an update on the story just to avoid any possible confusion on the campaign. Thank you to everyone who donated or shared. It truly means the world to us. I know she's resting in peace and truly grateful for those who helped our family and continue to do so, even if it's a prayer. I mean, personally, I say prayers don't do shit, so please give money, but that's me. Hitomi says it's fine. Due to how draining it was paying for this, thanks to less than expected life insurance and very little assets of our own, it's put a few of us in a tough situation. Any extra donation over the goal will go towards catching us back up on missed bill payments that we set aside to get this taken care of, as it was more important for us than anything. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically, you know, that's just like a little update that she posted. And, you know, but really, like, even though, like, it is the same campaign, wow, I can't talk. It is the same campaign from when her mother died. It's also a new campaign, in a sense, to just get her freaking sheltered and food. I mean, she says she has to go for a health checkup soon, and she knows the doctor's going to yell at her because her diet has been fucking, you know, fucking vending machine ramen and burgers. And I'm like, you know, I get that. You know, I get, you know, like, got to eat the poor people food. It's not expensive. It's not expensive. It is expensive. It's not cheap. I was just talking to these two guys I work with. One's my friend Brandon yesterday, and about how I'm not really on a diet anymore, simply because I can't afford to be on a diet. I lost my job, and now even though I have a job, I was out for 6 weeks. That put me behind on some things, and I'm making less money. So I have to make cuts to certain things, and food was the biggest cut because I was spending a lot of money on healthy food. I was spending a lot of money on fresh vegetables and almonds and all this shit. And while I'm still trying to keep up with the exercising, the diet part has pretty much gone out the window for now. I'm trying to the only part of it that's still going is some degree of portion control. But you know, it's like, you know, when you have no money, like, yeah, you do wind up eating like the fast food and the cheap food and whatnot. And my friend Brandon says, yeah, I don't understand how some people say, oh, eating healthy isn't expensive, because it fucking is, and I can attest to that. It fucking is, because I know that when I did decide to go on the diet and be serious about it, and started buying only healthy foods, started eating only healthy foods, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I saw results, of course. I lost 50 pounds, but at the same time, I was always in a financial strain because of food. And now, having, like I said, first lost the job, been out of work for 6 weeks, and then got a job that pays less. Yeah, I'm not on the diet anymore, so it's like I haven't lost any weight really. Maybe like a pound here or a pound there, but then you gain a pound here, a pound there from eating, bad food. It's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing when you don't have a lot of money to eat healthy. So that's one of those things that I know she's worried about her diet and whatnot, although I'm not worried about. I'm worried about her not having a home, so, that's one of those things. I'd like her to eat better food than what's out of a vending machine, obviously. But if anybody's wondering why I'm not donating, you know why. I mean, just listen to past potato casts. And I'm getting there, by the way. I'm starting to get back on my feet financially, and we'll be able to do that. But there's also family members that helped me out financially with some bills when I was out of work, and I owe them money because of that, So, and like I said, there was also the thing with my car needed new brakes. That was $240 right there. That was just 2 weeks ago. And now there's other things with my car that I still have to get taken care of. New tires, new windshield. It's all going to cost money. And it just kind of sucks because, you work and work and work, and you never, you run in place. And when you're running in place, you wear the ground down and you get yourself into a nice, cozy rut. So you might as well be happy in your rut. You know what I mean? Instead of killing yourself trying to get out, make it a nice rut. Decorate a little, put some nice floral patterns out, burn some incense, invite some ladies over, beers and whatnot, and have fun in your rut. That's all metaphorical, of course, but that's just kind of where my mind goes. And, I mentioned, I'm glad somebody commented on Chris Cornell, because that was something that I did want to touch on this week on PotatoCast. I want to make this a shorter one because it is later in the day. But it is something that I wanted to touch on PotatoCast about depression and such. And there is the two schools of thought. One is, hey, we want to let these people who may be depressed know that they can come to us. And the other is you should go to them. But like I said, how would you know that somebody's depressed? And sometimes when people say they are, it's okay. I have a friend. I'm gonna leave her nameless because I don't, I know her pretty well, but I don't know her well enough to be airing out her dirty laundry on POTATOCAST. But I have this friend of mine, and she has some problems with depression and anxiety, and she's a young girl. She's in college, and she's a pretty cool person overall. I enjoy talking to her, but she's pretty open with her anxiety and her depression and sort of the shit that goes through her mind and whatnot. And we've talked a little bit about the past and how the past shapes the present, which shapes the future. And my background ain't that different from hers. Hers is more extreme than mine. But yeah, I gotta say that she was talking about depression and anxiety with family members, and one of her family members said what I think is the most ridiculous thing. Unfortunately, it's something that I myself have heard, not from a family member, but from a friend, which was, why can't you just change your outlook to be happy? Why can't you just be more positive? Why can't you just think positive thoughts? Or that I believe that's what her, more along the lines of what they said to her. What was said to me was much more blunt. It was, why can't you just be happy? And it's like, well, bad things happen and it affects you, and you roll with the punches. You smile and you trudge on, and because that's what people want you to do. They don't want you to be depressed. People don't want to deal with depressed people. And I really, this is where it all comes down to bear. People don't, like, they say they want to be friends and they want to be supportive and they want to, my door's open, always open. You can always talk to me. But then they don't want to deal with it because it's draining. It's draining to deal with someone who complains all the time, because it starts to sound like whining, even if it's all valid and the most absolutely, true statements. After a while, it starts to drain that other person. And some people can be kind of emotional vampires, and they feed off of other people. So, hold on one second, guys. I got to answer these Facebook pings that are coming up. I'm just going to pause real quick. Okay, sorry about that. So, talking about this kind of thing, talking about depression, people say they want to be helpful and they want to be supportive and whatnot, but really nobody wants to deal with somebody that's depressed all the time. And eventually you're going to get that person that is going to say, why can't you just be happy? And, and then that person is thinking to themselves, well, why indeed? I've had that said to me, and this was years ago, and I was in a friggin' dark place at this point. I had 2 dogs that died within 2 months. I had job problems. I had all sorts of shit. This is about 5-6 years ago, and I was in a place of darkness at that point. And this person says to me, "Why can't you just be happy?" And I said, well, what do I have to be happy about? And they said, well, you're alive. And it's like, well, whoop-de-fucking-do. I'm alive, no shit, and it hurts, That's like saying, hey, you're in pain, but at least you're not dead. But it's like, well, if you're dead, you're not feeling pain, right? You're not feeling anything. And sometimes when you've been in pain for so long, and this is where suicidal thoughts come into play, and why people try to hurt themselves. When you've been in pain for so long, you start to think, well, if I was not alive, I wouldn't be feeling pain. I wouldn't be feeling regrets and anxiety and remorse and all this crap that bears down on you constantly. It's not like a knife wound. It's not like getting hit by a truck. It's like carrying a weight. And no matter how much you're used to it, you're still carrying it. And it gets to the point where it's not that the pain is so much to bear. It's not that you hurt that badly. It's that you hurt for that long that you get tired of living. And how could you explain that to someone in a way that they can understand unless they've experienced it themselves? Unless any of you have ever faced depression, you don't really know what I'm talking about. What it feels like to just be so tired, not physically tired, not emotionally tired, not mentally tired, not spiritually tired, but all four of those together, not any single one, to just be exhausted by life. And you know, when you don't know anything but suffering, you become accustomed to it. It's like when you get into a hot bath and it's like really too hot, but then you're in it long enough where you get used to it, and it's like it might be burning you, but you know, hey, this is what this is. This is the situation I'm in, and then somebody will say to you, well, why don't you just get out? And you say, well, you know, why? Why not? Why did I get in? You know, it's like, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. What you think is the obvious solution. You know, it's like that episode of The Simpsons where Lisa was feeling depressed. Lisa's a great character because she's not super realistic, but sometimes realistic things happen to her. And she was feeling depressed for whatever reason. And, you know, and kids sometimes get depressed for nothing. For nothing. And that's why it's a clinical problem, because it's like you can't attack the reason. She had no reason to be depressed. And, you know, this was the episode where she met Bleeding Gums Murphy, who said, you know, you play the blues pretty well for someone with no real problems. And she says, well, yeah, but I don't feel any better. And he says, it's not about feeling better. It's about making other people feel worse. And it sounds like a joke, but it's fucking true. It's not about making yourself better. It's about making other people fucking understand what you're going through. And that's why all us fucking weirdos, the depressives, the people who have problems, are all friends with each other, because we're our own support group. So when you're that happy, chipper person who says your door is always open, coffee's always warm, you can tell me anything, you're not going to understand. You're just listening. And you may think that it may be therapeutic just to say it. But let me tell you, I'm talking about it right now, and I'm not feeling any better. I'm talking to, you know what, a couple hundred people going to listen to this? Maybe I'll get some comments about it. And it's not just about me. It's my friends. It's my family. It's everybody. And you know what? Being around happy people doesn't make you happy. You have to find the thing that makes you happy. And honestly, you know, depression is a bitch, because it could be anything from trauma to a fucking chemical imbalance in your brain. Or it could just be a bad situation that's gone on too long. Or it could be about expectations. You thought it was going to be there, and you got bleh instead. So you're caught in a loop of, well, life ain't what I thought it was going to be, so I'm, you know, feeling shitty about it. So, you know, I like I said, I think about these things. You know, Chris Cornell hung himself. And you think the man was, 52, 53 years old, somewhere around that. He had a beautiful wife. He was a rock star. He was respected. People loved him. You know, he had a great voice and amazing talent. And did it make him feel better? Did it make him happy? No. Of course not. Robin Williams was a a very famous personality that everybody loved Robin Williams. I don't know anybody that doesn't like Robin Williams. Even if you're watching a movie that he's in that's bad, you still like him. Did that make him happy? You know, he had, he had a beautiful daughter, and he had all this work that he was doing, and he had so many things out there that he would make other people happy, or sometimes depressed, because he did a lot of depressing movies too. But did that make him happy? He still killed himself. You know? So, and it's like people say, well, why can't you just talk to someone? Do you really think that Robin Williams or Chris Cornell had no one to talk to? Think about that. Do you think that there was nobody that they could have came to? It's not like that, guys. It's not like that at all. Of course they could have talked to somebody. The question is, why didn't they? Because they didn't want to bother them. They didn't want to, because like I said, it's a burden. It's a weight. And you feel you have to have it all to yourself. Because somebody comes along and says, let me share this burden. Unload some of your crap onto me. I can take it. And there's one party that's going to say, oh, no, you can't. You know, you're adorable. You think you can handle this. You can't. You're not used to this like I am. And then there's the other half that says, but I don't want to drag you down with me. So a lot of times people who are depressed turn to making other people happy. Comedy, music, writing, any creative outlet, really. Comedy is one of the biggest ones. I read an article once that was really fascinating, and it says that a majority of comedians are depressed. And they like to make other people laugh. They like to be happy. And you think about it. How many comedians do you know that fell into drugs or committed suicide or overdosed? Or, think of Jim Belushi. Think of Artie Lang. He's still alive, but the man had a very serious suicide attempt. Well, two suicide attempts. One where he tried to, just drug himself with pills and he was saved. And the other was a very serious attempt where he plunged a kitchen knife into his stomach something like 9 times. And he actually survived that. And then you think about it, like how many, but he's making people happy. Jim Belushi made people happy. John Candy, all these guys. Notice how many of them are fat guys. Because food is something that anybody can enjoy, and, that's a big thing. That's a big part of it too. But think about how many comedians who have either committed suicide or fallen into drugs or any kind of self-destructive behavior. And, think about entertainers, actors, singers, and they're usually famous people. Oh, you really think they had nobody they can talk to? And this goes back a long time. Back in the 90s, look at Kurt Cobain, Shannon Hoon, these guys that went through all this shit, and they died because they decided one day that's enough. That's enough. So, how do you understand depression? I don't know, because I'm not a psychiatrist. I've been depressed. I've been there. So I kind of understand it a little better than most people, but does that mean that I understand it fully? No, because everybody's different and everybody's depressed by different things, and some people like depressing stuff. Me and a bunch of friends last night watched the movie Logan. It was my second time seeing it. It was their first time seeing it. Everybody crying their eyes out at the end. Everybody's depressed. We were saying this movie is just full of not fair, blah blah blah, this and that, and everybody was like, "But I would totally watch it again. It was a wonderful movie." That's why sad songs are popular. That's why tragedies are so popular. Because sometimes sad is good. Sad is not always bad. Depression isn't sad. Okay? That's the worst way of thinking about it. Depression isn't being sad because you're sad and then you get over it. You know, loved one dies. Something bad happens. You lose your job. Your wife breaks up with you. You know, you're sad, and then you don't really get over it, but you live with it after a while. You get to the point where you function again. You know, you grieve, and there's a process to go through. But depression isn't like you're stuck on a step or anything like that in this process. Depression is like you can't move at all. You're stuck because there's a weight. And you notice that, especially now, when people talk about it, they say it in the same sentence as the word anxiety. They'll say depression and anxiety, or anxiety and depression. Because you know how hard it is to do anything when you have anxiety? You can't even talk to people because you have anxiety. So how the hell are you going to get out of your depression? It's a lack of movement. The weight is so much you can barely move. You're over encumbered by life. And even if you found the strength to get out of it, you may not have the drive to get out of it because of anxiety. They go together hand in hand, and I think that one leads to the other and the other leads to the one. So, you know, and by the way, you know, when I started POTATOCAST, one subject that I talked about a lot was McJuggernuggets, and I want to touch on this asshole for a little while because he takes all these themes. He's doing a series right now that pisses me the fuck off, to be honest. And he takes these themes, depression, anxiety, you know, and suicide, and he turns that into a joke. He turns it into entertainment. He turns it into a farce. You know, he portrayed a character during his Psycho series that towards the end attempted suicide. And now he's portraying a character that has 3 times attempted suicide and has also shown self-harming and whatnot. And he does this whole thing like he says it helps people. It doesn't help anybody to watch that. Because when you show that in that context, in an entertaining setting, you're basically, you know, you're normalizing it in a way. Well, that's the wrong word. But you're cheapening it. That's the word I was looking for. You're cheapening it. When somebody decides to kill themselves, they're alone. You know what I mean? They're alone. And no amount of people around them. Okay, one of the best things ever written about depression and anxiety was not a book or a movie or a TV show or anything like that. It was an album. It was a record by Pink Floyd called The Wall. And the wall was a metaphorical thing. It's the wall that you place between yourself and others. It's a defense mechanism when you don't have the ability to cope with the outside world. In the case of the character who was named Pink Floyd, who was the main character in the story of The Wall, it was his father was absent, his mother was overbearing and overprotective, and then he was sent away to a boarding school where he was abused. And he didn't have any ability to deal with anything. So he fell into drugs and vice, and these were all bricks in the wall. All the bad things that happened to him were bricks in the wall. And then eventually he finds himself separated from everybody. And he descends into madness because of it, and he starts going into this fantasy of being a dictator and all this crazy stuff, and it creates a point where he actually puts his own psyche on trial and finds himself guilty And then the sentence is tearing down the wall and exposing him to the outside world. And you may think that's a good thing, but like I said, he doesn't have the skills to cope with anything. So I don't know how to fix depression, because if I did, I would be probably like, president of the world right now, and the richest man, and I would have saved lives and helped so many people. And this is a thing that is never going to go away. Depression is a fact of life. Animals get depressed. I read a thing that said even plants get depressed. That's crazy. They don't even have brains. They have like something that's like approaches the bottom limits of what you can consider a nervous system. But they can get plants can get depressed. There's a nutty thought for you. Animals can get depressed. So of course it's never going to go away. So how do we deal with it? I don't fucking know. But talking about it, does it help? No. It's not about making me feel better. It's about making you guys feel worse. And that may seem kind of harsh. But that's the whole thing about sharing the burden, about unloading a little bit. If you're carrying, and this is of course metaphorical, if you're carrying a pyramid on your back, you got to try to find the outlet to give everybody a brick. And here, you take this one, you take this one. All right, you're little, you take a rock, you can take this one, and it will help a little bit. But what would really help the most is therapy. But not everybody can afford therapy. Not everybody has health insurance. Not everybody wants to go. Not everybody realizes they need to. A lot of people are very, very troubled. And I mean, like I said, coming back to what brought me into this discussion to begin with was Chris Cornell. Everybody that was close to him is now saying to themselves, I wish I could have prevented this. I wish I could have helped him. Why didn't he come to me? Why didn't I go to him? All these questions, it's all hindsight, and it doesn't actually help anything. All right? My advice to anybody out there who has depression and anxiety is to find other people that suffer from the same thing or similar things, and build yourself a support network of people who actually understand you. People who believe that what you're experiencing is real, understand the magnitude of how it affects you, because some people will say, oh, so this and this happened. I understand you're sad, but it's not as bad as that. But to that person it is, for whatever reason. So maybe they have a fragile psyche, a more fragile psyche than you do. Some people are sensitive. Some people can take all the shit you throw at them, and some people break like a twig, So find people that know what you're talking about. They recognize that it's real, and they understand how it affects you. And talk shit on all those goddamn normal people that are always fucking happy all the time. Talk shit on the normals who wake up smiling and post Facebook statuses with minions shaking each other's hands with little hearts around them about how wonderful their lives are. Fuck those people, right? I mean, I'm joking, but I'm kind of half joking. But I wanted to talk about that. I'm glad that somebody brought up Chris Cornell, because I was kind of, thinking, like, how am I going to talk about this topic that's been on my mind for a while, that I thought would make a really good potato cast, and I hope that this was a really good potato cast. I don't think it really has I'm not McJuggernuggets. I'm not so arrogant to think that I'm helping somebody by talking about this. Because if it was that easy, we wouldn't have a problem at all. There wouldn't be depression. There wouldn't be suicide. You know what I mean? Obviously, I will say this. If there's anybody out there that you're thinking of hurting yourself, please don't. You know? Please don't. Not because you're going to make other people sad, you know, and this and that and blah, 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 and it affects other people, because you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. Don't do it, because there's a possibility that shit could get better. If you really think that you will never have a happy moment in your life ever again, rethink that. Because, you know what? The good shit, all the things that make you happy in life, you know, it wouldn't mean anything without the bad shit. You need that contrast. You know how people say, you take the good with the bad, or you take the bad with the good. If everybody was happy all the time, that would be annoying. Because it's like, well, why are you happy? You know what I mean? What's to be happy about? Everything's great. And then after a while, it's like, well, this is meh. And then they gotta chase the bigger happiness. Then they gotta start like shooting cocaine into their eyeballs, and, you know, making love to trees and whatever it is that people do these days. And you know, if you're into that, I am kink shaming. Don't fuck trees. You're going to get a splinter in your junk. You are going to probably get like some kind of moss infection, because moss doesn't only grow on the north side of trees. It grows all over. And also, that's fucked up. Like I said, plants can get depressed, and they don't want to have sex with humans. They don't find us attractive. They can't even see because they don't have eyes. So don't have sex with trees. And that's really what I wanted to say. I spent the last 45 minutes building up to don't have sex with trees. I'll see you guys next time on PotatoCast. Please leave me your questions and comments. I'll get to them next week. And hopefully we'll have something maybe a little more lighthearted to talk about next week. Maybe something video game related or something. I'll try to think of a topic. But this has been a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a while now. And I'm not going to say it feels good to get it off my chest, because it doesn't. But I would say that I'm glad that I did, because maybe somebody will hear what I'm saying and they'll say, oh my God, I'm not such a freak after all. There's people like me out there. And then they'll say, maybe I should talk to those people, because that's what you got to do. You got to find people that are like yourself. And trust me, there are people like yourself. There are so many people out there that are like you. Everyone's unique bull fucking shit. There are so many, like there are billions of people in this world. You probably have like 10 people out there that are exactly like you in personality. Maybe they live on a different continent. They don't speak the same language as you or whatever. Maybe they think you're an asshole, but they're sane in a lot of ways. They say everybody's got a twin. Everybody's got a twin in looks. Everybody's got a twin in personality. Everybody's got a twin in you know, other aspects. Yeah. All right, so see you guys next week with more PotatoCast. Keep an eye out for more great content on the channel, where I go back to being funny and goofing, saying the F word, and you guys laugh, and you know, I don't make you think too much. See you then.